The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Tonight from Irwindale, California, it's the virtual Irwindale Speedway playing host to another round of the eNASCAR Ignite Series playoffs. Coming off of the open round just 1 week ago from New Smyrna, it is unsurprisingly the regular season champion leading the way in the points as we continue to trim 50 drivers down to 30 in our search for a $10,000 racing scholarship winner. The second race of 4 in the round 1 of the playoffs is coming to you next on Race Spot TV and the iRacing Esports Network.
On. Drag is one of your biggest competitors. It slows you down, so make sure your car is streamlined. And don't forget to get an edge with drafting. Take advantage of the high-pressure air between your car and the one in front. Then you can slingshot.
You guys taking notes?
At the track, in the classroom, and online. Get special ticket offers for kids at NASCAR.com/KidsTix today.
From Irwindale Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to Race Spot TV's coverage of the eNASCAR Ignite Series playoffs live on the iRacing Esports Network. Happy to have you along for the ride for a second consecutive week. As always, it is myself, Evan Pasoko, Justin Prince upstairs for you on the call, with our director, Randy Jenneth, downstairs bringing us to you this evening. And Justin, we come off of an exciting opening round of the playoffs from the New Smyrna Speedway, and that brings us here tonight as we run the outer loop from the Irwindale Speedway. We take a look at the championship standings headed into this evening, and again, it is no surprise that your 15-time winner in a regular season, Garrett Lowe, won just 1 week ago. He leads your championship points coming into tonight.
Yeah, as you can see, a lot of drivers are looking to try and keep up the momentum, try and continue to try and have the strong next few rounds to get themselves to the final round in Martinsville, because it's so important to be sure you're in that main feature. It's just a difference of about 24 plus points is from 17th to 18th if you make the main show or if you miss it.
And that's the big difference. You mentioned it there. Again, only the top 17 drivers will make it into tonight's main event. That's going to be the case through all of the races here on the open round of this playoff. And you mentioned Anthony Burrows, he's 17th. Even for getting last in that, 36 points. The next closest driver, Dylan Hodge, only 8 points. So certainly with 30 drivers making it in, there are some drivers who didn't make the heat just a week ago that may have an opportunity either tonight at Irwindale. You see the upcoming races in 2 weeks' time. We'll go racing from the Texas Motor Speedway on one of the short infield road courses, and then Stafford on the 19th of September. That'll round out this opening round of the playoffs. We'll wither down 50 names to 30, and it is going to be a heck of a final shootout come September the 20th. 26th from Martinsville. Let's take a look at the format, though, for what we're going to see headed into this race. Justin, again, the objective, get to that main event. So many points on the line, but you have to qualify in first, and I'd recommend doing it in these heat races before the LCQ. Same format if you were with us just a week ago. It all starts with these 10-lap heat races.
Yeah, with the LCQ, you just hit it right there. You have to win one of those two races if you want to make the main. So, you basically have to make it as easy as you can. Get a good qualifying run in, and then finish up in the top 3 in the heats, or else you might be sitting in the stands for the main feature.
The 50 drivers eligible for this one, only 17 of them will go racing in the feature. That is a lot of drivers not capitalizing on points that are available to them. And again, because it's only those winners who make it in for the LCQ, your odds are not very good. Track position was a big key last week, and because we're on the wider circuit here at Irwindale, the outer loop, I think that's going to be also the case here this evening. These drivers drawing down to the end of the practice session. They're fighting for, again, that $10,000 iRacing scholarship. That'll be later determined how they see that best fit. Of course, the one-on-one instructional with Max Pappas. You're going to be introduced to a lot of the folks at the NASCAR Racing Development Center. You get a new sim cockpit. So many things that come with winning this eNASCAR Ignite Series. But you have to get the job done on a week-by-week basis, and a big step right now is drivers headed trackside for qualifying. You could probably make or break your night depending on what happens in the next 3 minutes.
You absolutely can, because it's going to be at times very difficult to pass with how you have to take in these corners, go as low as you can, and hit the gas as hard as you can without touching the wall. So it's going to be where you have to be patient and be able to time up when you get in the gas, how much you arc your car into the corners, or else you're going to be stuck in traffic for those heat races.
It is not what you want. The heat race is going to be split up so that you do have a little bit of space and you're not completely crowded. Again, there are going to be a maximum of 10 cars per heat race. As we go racing for 5 heat races, of course, your top 3 results, top 3 finishers in those heat races get the ticket into the main event. That'll give us 15 drivers through that point, and then one from each LCQ gets us to that 17-point total. Just to refer back to the standings again, Garrett Lowe has been out so good. For somebody like an Andy Trupiano or a Jacob Hall, Jake Matheson, some of those other drivers who, Justin, certainly showed us a lot of speed a week ago. They're going to, I think, feel very comfortable where they are now. Again, this is all going to come down to Martinsville. That one is a 30-driver winner-take-all finale. Would they like to best somebody like a Garrett Lowe, who's had pretty much everybody's number all season? Yes. But I think if you're somebody like a Trupiano there, second place, and you're mainly made it to the main last week, which puts you way ahead of a majority of the competition, you're going to be feeling pretty good. Again, the only objective in these next 3 weeks is to stay top 30, no win and lock yourself in. So certainly I think those drivers in a very comfortable spot. Even if I'm a Dylan Hodge, though, in 18th position, I'm 12 points above the cut line. Sure, that may be the case. I'm in 19th or 18th position. The top 30 make it. That's only a handful of points. Less than 8 points, though, in. You don't make the main. A bunch of cars behind you do. You're out of it. So if I'm not the top 17, I'm very nervous. It is essential, I think, if you want to advance, to make at least 2 of the main events in this opening round.
And you hit a lot of the points there where I think if you're running in that top 5, at least you're going to be more conservative, I think, than you would be, say, those drivers 15th on down. You want to make sure you have that cushion and make sure you drive the race as smart as you can. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the drivers who may have missed the show last week try and push even harder this week to try and get those extra points and get themselves back into the conversation, and at least to try and get themselves into that top 30.
Qualifying session rounding down into the closing seconds as we get set to go racing for the second round of the playoffs. And again, this is technically overall 10th race on the season. These drivers have been competing, the 13 to 16-year-olds in this series, and been racing all the way since the start of the summer. Pretty much early June is when this weekly series started. Very happy to again be bringing it live to you on the iRacing Esports Network for the playoffs. And with all of that being said, It looks like heat race number 1 has been gridded up, so let's go trackside. This is your Race Spot TV starting grid for heat race 1. And no surprise, again, best of all of them, Garrett Lowe with a 19.692. He'll lead us to the green flag in this heat race, and he will be joined on the outside of the front row. That's the number 30 of Raja Karuth. Also back 2, Austin Edwards rolls off at number 3 spot. That 9 division had a very good performance last week. He looks to back that one up. So does Dylan Hodge, who is in P4. Daniel Silvestri, he's on the inside of row 3 just behind him, and rounds out your top 5.
And Joseph John Brown will start just beside him. Hunter O. Johnson's looking to recover after a rough race last week. He'll start alongside Spencer Tart. And to round out the 10 drivers in this first heat, Travis Oliver and Devin Serra.
Going to be a complete look top to bottom at your Race Spot TV starting grid. Take a quick opportunity as we pace to talk a little bit more about this Irwindale Speedway half-mile oval. Again, as we work on the outer loop this evening from Southern California. Very wide racetrack, but don't expect drivers to be anywhere up top. It looks like everybody's going to want to be as low as they can to make it home first.
Yeah, especially in turn 3. The lower you can get, the faster you can get back on the gas and be able to angle your car away from the wall down the straightaways. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them trying to get as low as they can, as close they can without really clipping the grass once we get going here.
NASCAR dives down at 8. We're so happy that you're spending a Wednesday night with us at Race Spot TV at the iRacing Esports Network. Final time as we come into turn 4. Green flag in the air at round 2 of the eNASCAR Ignite Series playoffs is green. And your points leader, Garrett Lowe, clear of all of the fun down into turn 2. But for second on back, a lot of action. It's the Honda machine trying to work on the inside of the racetrack. So that is Edwards. He's trying to come on the inside of Caruth. They look at him almost in. Everybody all the way on that flat in the center of the corner.
And this is where you have to figure out, when can I get back on the gas, because you can't just come up because of how tight it is on the exit. He's trying to be patient here. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to get back single file as he is right here.
He does. They go single file for the 30-9 at least, as Caruth has been able to defend. But look behind them, 2 sets of 3 wide. So they're certainly using the space of the racetrack as they fight for position. Big crossover by Joseph Braun, and there's going to be contact behind. The 26 and the 7 get into each other. John Gorlinski, not a fan of that one, as he comes over the radio courtesy of Joseph Braun, his crew. His spotter or crew chief not happy with that move. So drivers already kind of chit-chatting back and forth, but your top 3 are the only drivers going to the main event, and Dylan Hodge, who has been able to hang on to 4th, is starting to lose some time to Edwards in front of him. No changes for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yeah, and right now Edwards, he's hitting his marks exactly where he needs to be, about 2/10 quicker than 4th place in Dylan Hodge. So he's in the clearing. Meanwhile, near the back of the field, they're saying, I'm going to try and get as best of a position I can for the last chance qualifier at this rate. They're going nearly towards the grass, battling for the battle of the field. Back of the field, rather.
Yeah, it's certainly getting as much out of this thing as they can. And again, if you're single file, you're certainly holding down low, but you do have the opportunity to try to swing way wide. These drivers looking for any sort of an edge, trying to get a big run to make some sort of a move. And again, we talked about it last week. It's going to be a theme because this is the same format tonight that we are going to see throughout the entirety of this opening round of the playoffs. Things will be a little bit different in that finale from Martinsville, but for all intents and purposes, these 10-lap heats are going to be the vein of, I think, a lot of drivers' existence, because if you don't get hot out of the gate, you are struggling. We talked about Dylan Hodge a few times already this evening. That's because he finished with the top position for the drivers who did not make it into that main event last week. He finished 18th overall as the top finisher for the LCQ without transferring in. It looks like the 4 is going to be headed back there because Edwards pulling away from him in 3rd. Again, that's the final transfer spot.
And Edwards, as well as Hodge, I think, are just trying to keep it as safe as they can, because with Hodge, he's not closing up. He's evening up now to Edwards, so it's going to be hard to gain up at this point.
It is going to be a difficult battle with Braun in the 26 and the 29 of Hunter O. Johnson. That one for 6th and 7th at a racetrack right now. Braun using that flat part's going to be able to win out in that fight, and not going to be any change. Meanwhile, for Garrett Lowe, white flag's been in the air, and he's going to be clear by a ton of time. 1.5 seconds, the time he has pulled in just the 10-lap heat race. He'll go to a second straight main event. Garrett Lowe wins in heat race number 1. It'll be a P2 for the 30 machine of Raja Karuth, and then Austin Edwards will round out your top 3. Those drivers are going to the feature race.
Yeah, good runs for them to keep it very clean. Got a good start, kept it single file, but now there's the big-time challenges for everyone else who did not advance in this first heat. As you've seen, Dylan Hodge, quick again. Now he'll be one of those drivers having to compete in the LCQ.
He's certainly going to put himself in a very familiar position from a week ago. He hopes the result's going to be a little bit different. We keep on rolling with the action, though. 3 more tickets up for grabs. Let's go trackside for your Race Spot TV starting grid for heat race number 2. It is Ryan Matthews in the 2 who will bring us to the green flag tonight. He is the only driver not named Lowe who is able to break down into the 19.6s. His .698 will put him on pole for heat race number 2, and Jacob Hall will join him on the outside of the front row in second. Dave Walsh starts third in this one. It'll be Nicholas Lobish rolling off from the 4th position, and Aaron Mulrooney Jr. rounds out your top 5.
And it'll be lined up right next to the Texan and Yusuf Ghali, followed by James Seawright and Brandon Ohm. And in the final row, Dawson Hess and D. Parker, who have shown speed in practices. Now they're going to have to work all the way from the back.
A tough break for D. Parker there. I believe he is the only driver who did not take a time at a qualifying session, so that puts him all the way in the back. I think, going back to last week, that one of the only drivers we had seen actually start outside of a transfer position and work their way in. I think the lowest we saw was either 4th or 5th position, so the odds certainly stacked against those cars back there. As the pace car gets set to bring us to the green flag, and we're going to take an on-board shot for this one. Ryan Matthews is going to be in control of the field, though. Look for the white number 2 on the inside of the front row to go. It is going to go way early. Heat race 2 is underway, and it's going to be a fight for the scraps left behind because Matthews is checked out.
Yeah. The leader controls the start, and that's what he did, able to get a decent start. We got contact off 2.
Big issues coming out of quarter number 2. No cautions in these, so we're going to stay green. That was the 20 Lobish, who had started 4th. He got turned. Both he and that entry of James Seawright, who got together. They spin, but it is not going to affect your race leaders. Racetrack is clear in front of them as they come back by the back straightaway, and it is a rough go at it for some of the drivers who started, I thought, with a fighting chance to advance at a heat race number 2. So through all of that, Aaron Mulrooney Jr., he jumps up from 5th to 3rd, and all of a sudden finds himself in a transfer spot. And how about D. Parker on a charge? The 45 trying to get up into P4, but right now he's fighting with Dawson Hess. That's the battle for the first runner-up right now.
And Parker, you see where that speed comes in, able to get to the bottom, times up the gas perfectly, and he's in the spot to be able to get the job done, to get as deep as he can into the corner. Now he's got to set his eyes on Mulrooney Jr. and try and get himself close enough. In terms of times, he is a little bit farther off, but that's because, of course, you have a car on the outside. That should pick up now.
Good to pick up, and a mistake there from Parker. He just was able to get around Hess really all the way, smack the wall that time off of the corner, and he's been able to do this relatively quick enough. 4 laps complete as you see Yusuf Ghali go to the inside on Hess now, so that one for 5th and 6th spot, and seems like if you're going to go all the way down on the flat, that's the place to be. Hess just hasn't been able to carry the speed on the outside to challenge back. And I thought Parker had a shot at this, but a couple of mistakes since taking to P4 has really hurt him now, because Mulrooney up in 3rd is nearly a second down in front of him. Going to be awfully tall order to catch him in the 5 laps that remain. He's got some defense to play as Ghali will way to the inside. Once he's able to make it work, it's going to be a mess in this fight for P5. You got 4 cars on top of each other.
And at this point, I think Parker's thinking big picture, big picture. He right now is in that first runner's up spot, yes, but he doesn't want to also defend to the point where he gets knocked out of that opportunity, be towards the front for the LCQ race. He's just, I think, just trying to play defense and hope Mulrooney makes a mistake up on the front.
Maybe all he could hope for at this point. And again, it's going to be a big pickup. Your finishing results in this heat race going to give you a better spot to grid up for the LCQ. So not all lost for the driver who didn't take a Q time at all, but for as quickly as he got up there, it had to have thought that he had some sort of glimmer of hope. And there is a chance that issue may arise because Walsh and Mulrooney going to be awfully tight right now in a battle for second and third. No real reason for those drivers to fight with one another when you consider the fact that both of those positions get into the feature race in this one. So as the white flag comes in the air, I would expect Mulrooney to just stay in third and not challenge. And for Ryan Matthews, going to be the second straight heat race in a row. Your pole sitter's going to go pole the checkers. Final time in 3 and 4 for him. And he'll cruise to the feature race as Matthews wins in heat race number 2. Walsh does hang on for second. And it'll be Aaron Mulrooney Jr. in third. Those are your transfers into the main.
And I think with the LCQ, you have to put a star next to Parker and Jacob Hall, because with Hall, he got bounced around a couple different times in that heat race and worked himself back up to 5th. A great recovery from Hall. We'll have to see what he can do in the LCQ.
Be as objective as we look forward to those LCQs a little bit later on this evening. Those will be 12 laps again. Only one driver transfers in once we get to that point. Heat race number 3 ready to rock and roll, and it is the number 5 of Vandy Trupiato who will bring us to the green flag. He qualifies on a pole, beat out Nick Doucette by a good 8/100ths of a second. The number 10 will start in second. Dylan Alt starts third place on this one. He'll be the inside of row 2, and his line mate is J. Mitchell Adams. The number 12 will roll from the number 4 spot. And Mikey Deal in the 17 gets P5 on the grid.
And he'll line up right next to the 39 machine of Evan Black. Andreas Eek from Norway will be in the following row, followed by Rowan Johns, and Camden Wiest will round out the 9 drivers in Heat Race 3.
It'll be looked top to bottom at the 9 cars who do officially start this race. Just 10 was the maximum, so I'm not really thinking that that 1 car difference is going to make all of that world of a change, but certainly for Camden West, all of a sudden you find yourself as the guy all the way at the back. So Mulrooney proved it on that last heat race, though. You don't have to start in one of those top 3 positions if you want to qualify in through. He was able to go 5th to 3rd, so maybe a glimmer of hope for Adams and Neal, who will start 4th and 3rd. But there was an accident on that one, and again, there is no slowing down for you, no caution flags in effect for these heat races, so you have to be clean, and that is oftentimes something that gets overlooked. Certainly, we saw a handful of incidents a week ago at New Smyrna. A little bit more real estate here at Irwindale will probably prevent some of that, but we'll see what heat race number 3 has to give us. It's been some very early starts for your pole sitters, and Trupiano's going to stick with the theme. Green flag in the air for heat race 3, and look out for Dylan All charging on the inside. He'll take second away from Doucette, and Doucette now under fire. Here comes Mikey Neal. That one is for 3rd.
And Neal got a little bit of help from behind, too, in the bumper bar from Adams with the push. And look at how he's been able to just slide on up, but that opens up the door for Adams. This is going to be a 3-car battle to try and get into that transfer spot.
And all of a sudden, Doucette finds himself behind the 8 ball. He just didn't get a good start on the outside of the front row, and he is going to end up trickling down to 4th, if not 5th position by the time this is all done. But it's Adams on the inside. He'll get the better hand as Neal pushes high, and it's now Adams in the final transfer position, but it is far from over. Doucette lurks on the bottom. Here comes the 17 to the outside again, and if something happens with this group, don't count out Evan Black. The 39 is right there. Roland Johns there out of the back end as well. So a lot of drivers trying to get to the back of the 12. We'll see if Doucette makes the play to turn 1. He'll look outside.
And Doucette's going to have to try and fight hard here because Adams is playing defensive, turning as hard as he can early into the corners to take away that opportunity. And Doucette making contact, trying to dive on in. Great save, though, from Adams, but that opens up the door for Doucette.
And loosen up the 12 machine, and it really hurt him on corner exit, and it is going to be the bump and run from Nick Doucette to move him into the final transfer position. He takes that spot back from J. Mitchell Adams and Mikey Neal. Those are the 2 drivers who took it away from him in the first place in that battle that ensued on the opening lap. And would it have been the first time we've seen some contact already in this young playoff season? We had seen some extracurricular contact of sorts a week ago where a couple of drivers got turned in some critical battles for position. So I know Adam's not too happy about how that one went down, but at least he's got a race car underneath him, and he continues to ride in fourth. Looks like Doucette, though, really in a groove now, pulled away by about 7/10.
And I think that might have broken up Adam's rhythm a little bit. But look at this, 4 wide off turn number 2. How about that? Eek is smartly backs out of that one to keep out of that mess. But my goodness, what a heck of a battle near the back of the field where multiple drivers are getting runs and just trying to be patient now at this point without trying to make contact. Great effort to make sure they aren't touching each other through these corners like that.
And Andreas Eek was maybe one of the only smart drivers there you saw. He was the first one to back out of it. The problem there is if you're not willing to take that kind of a gamble, things aren't going to work out for you. And of course, he loses out in that 4-way battle. It was Johns who ends up 5th, Black, then Neal, and then Eek way back into P8. And even 9th place, Camden Weist, who hasn't been able to go anywhere yet. He pressures from behind as, again, all of these drivers may not be fighting for a transfer spot as it sits, but they're all fighting for track position on the grid for the LCQ later on. But up front, Andy Trupiano going to stick with the theme as well. He's going to make it 3 for 3 for your pole sitters as he heads into turn 4, and he is going to take the checkered flag in Heat Race 3. Trupiano's headed to the main event from the Irwindale Speedway. A very quiet going for the 14 Dylan Alt, who comes home second, and Nick Doucette had to work for it, but he does hang on for the P3 result.
Yeah, a really good bump and run there that just gave the light nudge from his right front tire, pushed Adams up the track. Adams is still able to, of course, recover with that 4th spot. But a bit of an effort there to make sure he's able to still keep that spot with how the drivers were racing behind them near 4 wide, which Johns, of course, as mentioned, able to finish in that 5th spot.
Speaking of 4, we'll go down trackside for your starting grid. For heat race number 4, Kenny Brady in the 6. As the cars roll off, will bring us to the green flag in this 10-lap heat race, and it'll be Jake Matheson on the outside of the front row in second. It'll be Braden Karras at number 50 machine. He'll roll off 3rd position tonight. Ryan Joyner starts 4th on the outside of row 2, and just behind them it is Zach Novak in P5.
Right beside him, Jarrett Liebert within the 31 machine, followed by the 36 of Ethan Agan. And rounding out the field in 8th spot, Steven Rosales and Tyler Marble will have to go from the 9th spot for his heat.
You look top to bottom at your Race Spot TV starting grid for heat race number 4. Again, still to come, 1 final heat races, 2 LCQs. And then the main event of the night as we go feature racing later on. That one going to be for 30 laps. We're going to go on board with the number 31 for this one. That's Jarrett Liebert, who will take us to the green flag at P6. But all eyes are on the 17-year-old Bandolero driver out of Georgia. That is Kenny Brady, who is in control of the field. And the 6 puts the right foot down. Green flag in the air. A much better jump this time for your outside pole sitter as Matheson quickly dives down in defense. He'll hang on for P2, and that means the fight's there for 3rd. Here comes Novak on the outside.
Novak got a perfect jump on the start and showing his speed and his pro stripes once again. But 3 wide, look at that. Liebert able to get underneath as that battle was going on the higher side. And now Liebert's in the perfect spot to be able to try and get that 3rd spot.
Yeah, the inside positioning, but he just wasn't able to get back to the gas on the exit of the quarter. So the 3 wide for 3rd, going to break down to 2 wide. Novak still up top. The 50 right there of Karras going to be so good in the center. But Novak gets that speed off of the quarter. That is going to be where he gets it if this does come down to maybe a side-by-side battle of the line. And how about that time through the center? The 15 slices, and Zach Novak going to move into a transfer spot as he takes away 3rd.
A heck of a lot of speed we're seeing from Novak in the early going for this heat. And a heck of a battle to make sure that high line works. It's a difficult line to try and make work at Irwindale Speedway, but great effort to be able to keep that high line moving, try and hold the momentum Karras had on the bottom side to be able to move himself into 3rd spot.
moved himself into that position that is all he needs to be able to make it to the main event in this one. One of the drivers in this eNASCAR Ignite Series that also competes regularly with us on Tuesdays in the NASCAR Pecan Freeze iRacing Series. So certainly Novak, somebody who is not at all unfamiliar with how to get around on the iRacing service very quickly. Quite the contrast to somebody like that number 50 machine of Braden Karras, the driver out of California, who does not race on the real-world side of things, but has been a member of the iRacing service for 3 years and making some pretty important starts on his sim racing career here on Wednesday nights.
A very important run for sure, as you mentioned, especially being that number 50 car, being able to get into the top 50 to get himself where he needs to be able to compete in the playoffs. This is a very strong run from Karras and exactly what I think he needs to be able to set himself in a great run to maybe make the main show.
And that's the objective at the end of the day. And, you know, for Rosales and Liebert, again, if it doesn't happen early, what we have seen thus far through the playoffs is that it probably isn't going to happen at all. Always a chance a late race mistake could be made, but your top three very evenly spaced. Kenny Brady's half a second in front of Matheson. Matheson's half a second in front of Novak, and you guessed it, Novak has got a half a second advantage on that number 50 of Braden Karras. So unless for some reason you're feeling a ton of pressure, it should be smooth sailing for the 6, the 19, and the 15 as they run 1, 2, and 3. No incidents, though, in this heat race. A little bit more tame compared to some of the more exciting moments that we have had already this evening. But it looks like it is going to be it for the 6 machine of Kenny Brady. Final time as he comes down the back straightaway. Every single time, the car who takes the green will be the first to capture the checker. He goes pull the checkers. Kenny Brady wins heat race number 4. He'll join the main event alongside your second place finisher, Jake Matheson. And in third, that 15 is Zach Novak.
And Novak again showing speed all race long here. Karras able to just come up short in the 4th spot. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Karras maybe battle in the top 5 in the LCQ, but of course you gotta win that race. Question is, will he be able to keep the similar pace he showed in the heats when the pressure's on the line later on tonight?
They, for the top 3 at least, have an opportunity to kind of collect their thoughts. If you're racing in Heat Race 4 or Heat Race 5 coming up, it's going to be a quick turnaround for the LCQs. Our final trip down trackside as we take a look at your Heat Race number 5 starting grid. It is the 13 Riley Thompson looking for a little bit of luck. He'll bring the green flag out and he'll look for that trip into the main event. Demetrius Whitney alongside him will start second. It is Ryan H. Papazian who starts 3rd position tonight with Patrick Boos in 4th and Anthony Burrows rounding out your top 5.
Ryan LaPrade, the Tennessee native, drives right beside him, followed by Howie Briss and Lucas Cram. Vincent Arthur rounds out the field in the 41 machine, which again, it's going to be, again, pressure once the restart goes, or the restart of the race, rather. Can you get a good start to be able to position yourself to try and battle for that 3rd spot?
Starts ever so critical. We have seen that this evening. It is going to be even more cutthroat when you get to the LCQs where only one driver advances. But again, you're looking for the top 3 in this one, and I'm expecting, something tells me based on what we've seen as well, that 13 Riley Thompson's probably going to go somewhere in the center of the quarter. If I'm Demetrius Whitney, that outside of the front row in second has been very vulnerable on some of the starts tonight. I think he has to try to guesstimate when that 13 goes. You cannot let Papazian from the inside of row 2 and 3rd get to your inside. A green flag in the air will go underway, and it is not only a good jump for Thompson, but the advice is going to be heeded as Whitney tucks down and defends second, and he'll leave the fight behind for 3rd. It's Patrick Moose on the outside, and Ryan Papazian on the inside for the final transfer position.
And Papazian, of course, trying to recover from a rough race last week where his right paddle shifter broke, where he showed speed to be able to get in the top 3 for qualifying last week, showing that speed again as he's going to outbreak everybody and try and hold on to the 3rd spot, at least 2nd contact.
The 33 is going to get turned. That is Patrick Moose, was battling for position. He tried to cut down in line and going to cut off the nose of the 43 of Anthony Burrows. It turns him around, and the other 8 cars on track. It'll leave him in the dust. Again, tough break for one of those drivers as they were fighting for a final transfer position. Demetrius Whitney, though, under fire right now, and he feels the heat from behind, so he's going to try to make a move on Papazian. Papazian. Again, the only reason he runs in third and is fighting for second right now is because here comes Briar LaPrade, and he's kind of mixing things up. I don't think Whitney feels safe in third. He wants to get around Papazian to get a buffer because as that final transfer spot now, the two cars closely behind you. The 28 really feeling it at the moment.
He absolutely is, and he was actually working with Papazian a lot during practice throughout today to match their lines to try and increase their times, and that's what I think that amount of practice has been showing here for Whitney for this race here, to be able to try and keep the pace and start to try and pull away from LaPrade to keep that third bubble spot.
The objective, hang on to the bubble spot, but not a good exit at a turn number 4 that time. Allows Papazian in second to pull away, and LaPrade in fourth to close. The side-by-side fight, that's going to be for P5 behind those two cars we were talking about. It is Howie Brisk and Vincent Arthur fighting. That one 5th and 6th position on the racetrack. The more they fight with each other, though, really the more they're hurting their own cause, because it is going to allow LaPrade to really get Whitney all to himself. It looks like if the 28 can knock off a consistent lap, he's better right now than the 11 of Briar LaPrade, but if he keeps opening up the door, I have to think that one of these times the 11's going to jump on it.
I think he will. He just has to make sure he doesn't make a mistake and just doesn't feel the pressure. LaPrade's slowing up, catching up slowly but surely, but Whitney keeps on evening out the time where when he's slow one lap, he's faster the next lap. Last time by a 10th quicker than LaPrade.
And quicker, which means that the 28 machine looks like he's going to be able to get a little bit of distance. If he were to make a mistake now, that 4/10 of a second advantage that it is totaled to, certainly going to give him that buffer zone that I had mentioned when we were talking about him trying to rest with Ryan Papazian. Papazian a second off of Thompson, but I don't think that second is up for grabs. Third may be the final card to fall if it does, but white flag is in the air. I don't think LaPrade's going to be able to get there. Brisk and Arthur have fallen off, so 1, 2, and 3 look pretty safe. And for Riley Thompson, going to be another successful outing in the heat race, and he is going to put himself into the main event. Thompson wins heat race number 5. It'll put him into the main for a second consecutive week. Ryan Papazian and Demetrius Whitney going to join him there also.
And LaPrade, Brisk, Arthur, Cram, Burrows, and Moose, of course, not able to move on in that heat race, but we've seen LaPrade show the speed that he didn't quite hit in terms of qualifying. Now he's again going to have that challenge where there's the pressure on. Now, with the next heat race, the question is, will we see the same type of action for at least one more run?
That's going to be the objective, certainly, if you made it into the main event, ready to rock and roll. But if you're in these LCQs, now's your opportunity, really your final chance to get after it. We're going to just about double the field size, and only one driver is going to make it in. Here is your LCQ number 1 starting grid. Dylan Hodge will be on pole. J. Mitchell Adams rolls off from second. Briar LaPrade starts third spot in this one. Jacob Hall alongside at fourth, with Steven Rosales in 5th.
And Joseph Braun starts beside him with Evan Black and Vincent Arthur in row number 4. Rounding out the top 10 today is Yusuf Ghali and Ethan Eggman, with Devin Serra and Mikey Neal looking to try and show some of the speed they showed in their heats, followed by Anthony Burrows and Nicholas Lebich, who is Lebich, of course, trying to recover from incidents from before. And that, of course, rounds out with Ryan Joyner and Daniel Silvestri for the 16 drivers for the LCQ.
Succeed on the starting grid for this one. Looks like Ryan Joyner wasn't able to make it out on track. That'll kill his hopes for weekend number 2 of the playoffs, as the pace car gets set to head down to the safety of the pit lane, and you might need that safety. Only one driver for the LCQs headed to the main event. We've already got 15 cars on our feature race grid. 2 spots remain, 1 from LCQ 1, and 1 more spot up for grabs a little bit later. Dylan Hodge takes the green flag, and he needs to get as far away as he can. Briar LaPrade, quick move. He darts into second on the inside of Mitchell Adams.
And we got trouble out of turn 2. The 39 machine getting spun around, and Evan Black, after getting bumped around a little bit, everyone else able to keep in cleanly as their bumper cars right now for second.
Yeah, Black got turned off of the bumper of Arthur. The fight going to be for second. And again, this is great news for Hodge, but drivers getting impatient early. There he goes, Joseph John Braun to the inside. A ton of contact as he slams LaPrade coming up and out of quarter number 2. That'll give him the third spot. The 11, not a fan. He'll send it back into turn 3. A lot of contact. Somehow, Braun hangs on, and there he goes. Big wreck on the front straightaway as tumbling down to the corner is Nicholas Lobish. The fisticuffs have come to a close, and half the field involved in that one.
Absolute bad luck in that one. Joseph Braun spotter telling him, keep your foot in it. He tried to keep his foot in it, but at the last second couldn't keep the car saved. And unfortunate bad luck for a lot of drivers there. And really opens up the door now for Dylan Hodge and Jay Mitchell Adams up at the front of the field running 1-2.
They're going to get a big gap, and that just goes to show you that if you can't play nice, probably not going to work out for any of the drivers involved in that one. It was the 26 machine who initiated the contact. He put the bump clearly on the 11, moved him up and out of the way. The 11 not a fan of that one, went back in there and gave him about 2 more bumps, and it was a huge wreck. The innocent victim, as you mentioned, just the bad luck for Lobish, who went tumbling, and just like that, a ton of space up front after what looked like was going to be a very competitive LCQ race. Dylan Hodge is now 7/10 in front of Jay Mitchell Adams, really the only survivor from that group who runs in second. Jacob Hall picks up and jumps to third. And then your big winners in all of that, Ethan Hagan 10th to 4th, Mikey Neal 12th to 5th, and Evan Serra 11th to 6th. They pick up all their spots because the cars in front of them wrecked out of this race.
And that's a lot of spots gained, but of course you need to finish in that first spot to advance. And they still got a lot of track position they lost trying to make their way through it. The one driver I think is probably the most excited to make it through, Jacob Hall, who, remember, got bumped around a lot of times in the 37 machine, got bumped around right before all of that happened, and now he's holding on to the third spot and starting to gain up on second after having to save his car multiple times tonight.
And again, the big difference, and of course you can see the running order and lap times and all that good stuff up at the top of the screen. But again, these LCQs, 12 laps in length as opposed to the 10-lap heat races. So a little bit of time left as a fight for second. Jacob Hall on the inside of Adams pushed up on him. He didn't utilize all of that lower space, so he really forced Adams up and out of that preferred groove. And all of this fun is going to be worth maybe just a single point or so. I believe they'll probably end up if you win out in this fight, you get 8 points out of the 9. If you lose out in this battle for second and third, you'll probably get 6 points if the points from last week are to be referenced for this one. So there is certainly something on the line for Hall and Adams. And the 37 with a nice move slides up, and he takes it away with 2 to go.
And he's running the exact same pace as Hodge, but he's just not had the track position or the luck really tonight. At this point, I think he wants to just get the best position and the most points he can from here on out as Hodge is pulling away for the white flag.
Pull it away, white flag in the air for Hodge. There is going to be a last-second battle for that number 2 spot. Adams back on the inside. He's too tight, can't hold it. And it'll be Hall pulling a couple of car lengths. It may not be done. Final time to 3 and 4. The 12 is not going to be able to get there, but off of the quarter it is Dylan Hodge who qualifies in on the LCQ. And what a change for him. He missed out last week by 1 position, and this is going to be big in his hopes of transferring in to the Martinsville finale because he makes his first feature race on the playoffs, and it is Hall as the bridesmaid comes home in second.
Yeah, a lot of drivers getting bounced around there, but Hall, you got to give it to him. Be able to get the second spot after getting bounced around a couple times tonight. Great run from him despite the fact he missed the show. Adams also great speed. Neal and Serra, of course, rounding out the top 5 with Egnan, Rosales, Gali, Silvestri, along with Burrows rounding out the top 10. But with that, we got one more LCQ to decide who's in the main here, Evan.
Yep, 16 drivers decided. We need one more. We go trackside again. This is your LCQ2 starting grid. Top to bottom, 16 cars strong. D. Parker going to lead the pack as he brings us to the green flag in this one. And Braden Karras going to be on the outside. Great spot for the 50 as he looks to make some noise. Back on row 2, Spencer Tart will roll in 3rd position. At a 16, Roland John starts in 4th. It is Howie Briss rounding out your top 5.
Braden Olm rounding out that top 6, in fact, with Jared Liebert and Hunter O. Johnson looking to try and carry speed in the 7-8 spots. Rounding out the top 10, Andreas Eek and Lucas Cram, with Dustin Hess watching behind. And in the dozen spot is Tyler Marble. Travis Oliver and Camden Wiest will round in 13 to 14, with Patrick Moose and James Seawright looking to turn around their luck here in the LCQ at the back of the field, 15th and 16th.
That is a complete look top to bottom at your starting grid. And again, we're going to send it to the 15 cars home. And maybe if you're just joining us, 50 drivers that made it this far out of the 480 who competed over the course of the regular season in this eNASCAR Ignite Series. Top 50 made it thus far. And only 17 get into every single main event, so not a lot of points up for grabs for majority of the field. The end objective, of course, be top 30 after tonight and 2 more weeks. And we'll be talking about a whole new ball game from the Martinsville Speedway. But 12 laps still to go before we could get down to the main event this evening. To pace car down and in, Dee Parker just needs to be the fastest car on track for 12 laps, and he'll have a shot at a win. And most importantly, a ton of points. He wasn't able to get the top 10 last week at the main event. He just wants to get back to that spot this week. Green flag in the air.
And Corres did not get the best of starts there. Got, in fact, set up by Spencer Tart on the low side to move himself up into second. We got trouble off turn 2 again.
More issues at a quarter number 2, and it's going to happen when the field is bunched up. It is Tyler Marble who spins. The 40 also got turned. The 21 involved. A handful of cars at the back of the pack spin. No major contact, just a lot of spinning every which direction. The racetrack is clear as Dee Parker and the rest of your race leaders make it on through. They're not playing nice mid-pack. 3 wide in battle for 5th, 6th, so on and so forth. And again, these drivers know, Justin, based on what we've seen tonight, if you want any hopes of getting out of the middle of the pack, especially in an LCQ where only the winner advances, you got to go and you got to go down. That's why they are so aggressive right out of the gate.
Exactly. They can't afford to be patient with there being just 12 laps at this point. You gotta go when the opportunities open on up. Hunter O. Johnson being the best example of this. He's going to take drivers 3 wide if he has to try and get himself up forward and try and get himself into the main.
All he hopes for is to be able to get up into the main event in this one, and you can see a lot of close action still, but the time you get back to those side-by-side fights with Briss and Johnson and other drivers, you're already talking about a 1.5-second deficit. I just don't see that realistically happening. Spencer Tart is really feeling the pressure. He made that move on Braden Karras at a number 3 spot right now. Took it away from him earlier. The 50 wants it back, and again, you fight with each other. You got to do what you got to do, but the more you go side by side, the further Parker gets away. 2nd and 3rd place, a 10th slower than the race leader the last time.
And that's partly because of all the battling they're having to do here. Tart keeps on having to change his line towards what some of the faster cars go, towards that middle line rather than going towards the bottom side to make sure he doesn't come down on Caress. It's going to affect his lap times by far when he has to play defense rather than try and play offense and race his own race, what he's having to do right here.
And that's really all you can do. You know, when you look at things, at the end of the day, all you're doing is running your own race. Now, when you're talking about Legends cars, I think that a good way to describe them is one of the sportier vehicles on the iRacing service. A ton of fun to drive, on the real-world side of things, but when you squish them onto a racetrack like this and you dangle a $10,000 racing scholarship on the line, they'll make these race cars do things that I'm not sure I would necessarily recommend, and that's why you've seen some of the results that we have seen thus far. But it looks like Parker's certainly checking out on this one. The disadvantage for 2nd and 3rd now over a second. It's the biggest that gap has been all night, and Parker this next time around going to take 3 laps to go.
And Parker's keeps on getting help because that battle for 2nd has turned into a 3-car battle with Rowan Johns now able to close on up because of all the crossing over and over between Tart and Caress. So at this point, I think Parker, as long as he keeps it off the wall, should have this thing sealed on up here.
The word is should. There could also be issues not necessarily related to your race leader, but somebody else on track may have an issue. You see some lap traffic staying high. That is Tyler Marble in the number 15 spot, who tried to give the preferred lane to your race leader the last time. Always a chance that one of those lap machines makes a mistake, and The race leader gets caught up in it. The 45 is going to be alongside, and respectable move out of the marble camp there. He rolls out of the throttle, and he will let Parker go on by. So that's another objective cleared for your race leader. Headed into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. It looks like he'll be named number 17 on the starting grid later tonight. It is going to be D. Parker, pull the checker. He will win heat race. Well, we missed out on his heat race, but I shouldn't say he wins LCQ number 2. And what that is going to do for Parker, it'll make it into his second consecutive main event. He finished 11th last week, and he'll look to pick up on that this evening. You take a look at the full results, Justin. Unfortunately, not much to offer all of the rest of these drivers. They're going home with that best single-digit points results.
Yeah, it was a good start from Parker from the get-go. Got himself to about that 1 second cushion. Was able to just hang on to it with the battlings between Tart, Caress, Johns. Braden Olm was at one point in that conversation as well. And guys like Johnson, Lieber, Briss, Moose, Graham, they had a really good pace at times in the runs. They just could not get the track position they needed as you look at the rest of your standings for this LCQ.
A lot of action already completed, but the main event is next. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. When we return to the Irwindale Speedway, we will go feature racing. You're watching the eNASCAR Ignite Series on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network.
All week we work. We clock in, roll up our sleeves, and get the job done. And when Friday comes,
inside, 3 wide.
We all get to raise
When they take the green, there will be 10 to go.
a little hell.
Oh! Trouble! Oh, there it
And back live from the virtual Irwindale Speedway, RaceSpot TV's coverage of the eNASCAR Ignite Series continuing tonight on the iRacing Esports Network. Evan Pasoko, Justin Prince with you. The heat races and the LCQs have drawn to a close, and we get set for a 30-lap main event. And if you're just forgetting what's on the line, again, here's a refresher of the prizes for this Ignite Series Championship. Not being handed out tonight, still got a bunch of racing to go, but among all of the things that include a racing instructional with Max Pappas, a new sim seat, and a lot of access to some NASCAR executives, a VIP iRacing account. Of course, the one at the very top there that catches everyone's attention, Justin, is that $10,000 scholarship that hangs in the balance.
An absolutely huge opportunity for the champion for the eNASCAR Ignite Series by far. Whether you get the scholarship, on top of all of that, everything packaged on together can really accelerate somebody's career if they come up as the 2018 champion, that's for sure.
And a lot of drivers to roll through, but they are on the grid. Let's go trackside. This is your RaceSpot TV starting grid for tonight's main event, round 2 of the playoffs. So D. Parker is going to, again, qualify into this one, but he's going to be all the way at the back chasing Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe, your winner from Heat Race 1, and of course, our feature race winner from a week ago will lead us off. Ryan Matthews joins him on the front row in second. Andy Trappiano and Kenny Brady make up row number 2. That'll be 3rd and 4th positions, respectively, with Riley Thompson starting in P5.
He'll line up right next to the race go-kart driver from the Maryland region, Raja Karuth, followed by Dave Walsh and Dylan Alt in row 4. Rounding out the top 10, Jake Matheson and Ryan Pappison, who will look to try and charge to the field.
And continuing on through, Austin Edwards starts 11th position. It'll be Aaron Mulrooney Jr. in 12th. Nick Doucette gets 13th. Zach Novak 14th. And Demetrius Whitney in the number 15 spot. And then to round things out, your LCQ transfers, 16th is Dylan Hodge. And 17th is D. Parker. And if you missed any of the earlier action, the math is easy. Positions 1 through 5 are your heat race winners. If you're 6th through 10th on the grid, you finish 2nd in your heat race. 11th through 15th are your 3rd place finishers. And the 2 on the back, the LCQ transferees. But for the final time this evening, I can say that the pace car is going to head down to the safety of the pit lane it gets real now. You're going to ride on board with Austin Edwards from the middle of the pack and look up at all of the excitement as Garrett Lowe looks for a second straight win of the eNASCAR Ignite Series playoffs. Green flag in the air. It's the main event from Irwindale.
A much more patient start this time from Garrett Lowe up at the front, and this has really kept things close, giving Ryan Matthews a good tow there. And look at Trepiano able to just beat off Kenny Brady, battling for that third spot.
And Brady makes a big dive down to the inside of the racetrack, and it'll give him the advantage. Certainly the 5 wasn't able to get the run that I would have expected for the outside, and it kind of evens things up this time as they pretty much nose to nose. There's going to be a lot of contact behind, though. Raja Caruth pushes the 14 ball way up into the outside wall. Somehow that wasn't a wreck.
And that was a great effort to try and keep that away from being a wreck there, all being pushed up towards the wall. Able to recover, keep it away from the track, and the damage from the suspensions just sent him all the way around.
The issue here and a little bit further back, but again, no caution flags in this main event, so we're going to stay in green flag conditions, and a battle for the race lead thought was going to happen a lap ago. Not looking as likely now. Ryan Matthews was all over Garrett Lowe about a lap and a half ago. Not anymore, though, as he tries to make up some time, but that gap has grown to about a half a second as he tries to advance some positions right now. Believe that the 1-2 cars may be the top 2 cars as ranked in this series by their iRating, and Garrett Lowe showing that as a good reason. 3 wide, deeper in the pack. That one is with the 15. We should have Zach Novak pinched in the middle. And again, all of these drivers, crucial points on the line. 84 points for a race win, 36 points for last in the main event.
And remember, Novak is one of those drivers trying to recover from a rough round number 1. So he's, of course, trying to get as far up the grid as he can, try and get maybe even a top 5 after having trouble in both the LCQs and his heat races last week.
Certainly, you try to pick yourself up and carry that kind of momentum on. We go back to back. Of course, that race was just last Wednesday. There will be a week off before we return in 2 weeks for the Texas Motor Speedway. That one will then be followed up by another back-to-back action staff for the week after that as we close out the opening round of the playoffs. That impact fight, Edwards losing a good amount of time down on the inside of the racetrack. He'll try to tuck in line and try to sort that thing out. I think Dave Walsh, Jake Matheson for 7th and 8th, maybe one of the closest battles on a racetrack to your race leader right now. But that's 3 seconds off of the point, so you can certainly see the speed difference in some of those cars that are completely dialed in, and those other drivers who had to scrap a little bit more to get this far.
And with them battling back and forth, this is going to lose them more track time to Ryan Pappison in the 6th spot because they're holding each other up in terms of the exits. Matheson has to get to where he tries to push Walsh up towards the wall because he's trying to get the spot and try and think of the big picture, but every time you try and do that, try and dig as hard as you can. That opens up the door again for the crossover like Walsh is doing here. It's just so difficult to try and secure the pass, and this continues to just hurt them. A 10th each lap, give or take.
This crossover center pack as Matheson's going to be able to make that move on the driver behind him, that 8 of Dave Walsh. Walsh had just got that spot. Looked like the 19 did a really good job of kind of setting that one up. And I'm not going to say he played him, but he certainly saw the dive coming on the inside of the racetrack. Certainly let off early, got back into the gas, and it was well executed. 7th, 8th, 9th. I don't think this battle is far from over. There's some other close exchanges on track. The battle for the race lead still within 0.4 of a second. Kenny Brady and Cristiano 3rd and 4th. This driver's nice and tightly packed, but we haven't really seen that big play for the race lead. Already 12 laps in of 30, closing in on halfway.
Closing in really quick, and it's been a good run for those front two, and Lowe and Matthews running near identical lap times at this point. This time by Matthews, in fact, was just half a tenth quicker. So they're right on par with each other, continuing to pull on away, but Lowe is just that little extra bit quicker, I think, off of turn 2. Matthews better off of turn 4.
And that could certainly play into the two's benefit if this thing does come down to a last lap battle. You don't even need to necessarily make a pass and clear that guy. Just get a nose in front. A good run off for the quarter could bode well for the Matthews camp. First and second, though, certainly have pulled away from everybody else. And again, most cars in the middle of the pack engaging in fights, but it is a big jump when you go from Matthews in second to Brady in third. It's about a second and a half right there in third. You see the drivers who have gone up and gone down. Good moves early for Ryan Papazian up 4 spots. Zach Novak up 6. Not as good innings for the likes of Dylan Alt, who's been wrecked out of this race. A Rajah Karuth, who's fallen. So that's a quick look at who's been making noise. 15 laps down, 15 to go this time by.
There's still a lot that can happen here. While things may seem calm for now, you're eventually going to have to reach lap traffic near the end of this race, especially if you're up in the top 5 at the very least, which could really change things up depending on how the lap traffic drives with you. We've seen before when we reach lap traffic in one of the LCQs, they've gone up high. Question is, do they do that in the main?
That's certainly going to be a question. Another thing to keep in mind is, again, those heat races in the LCQ so short that these drivers haven't really at all been concerned about conserving their equipment. Now, 30 laps is by no stretch of the imagination a long race in these legends. It's what you would expect if you're, doing heat races and whatnot on your local short track on a Saturday night, but sometimes feature races can go a lot longer than that. So officially into uncharted territory. Curious if we'll see anybody fade late because they got a little bit overzealous in that opening half.
The fall off, give or take, can get to as high as half a second, and what a save from Dave Walsh, because right there, burning up the tires a little bit, got loose, and now he's in a bit of trouble because Doucette wants to go, Edwards wants to go, all because he got that little extra bit loose from starting to wear out the tires a bit in the late part of this race.
And when you're in a pack like this 8 machine is, he's only going to lose another spot as Nick Doucette gets him at the line. Not a done deal in a battle for 10th and 11th, but if Walsh loses out in this, it'll be the 4th position he has dropped off. Sometimes you can get away with mistakes. Oh, almost contact as the 8 comes off of the fence. That a very close call. Turn 2 has provided a couple of those moments.
Yeah, turn 2 much more tighter because you can't go as low as you can with turns 3 and 4. Plus, you can, if you get just a touch too much into the throttle, you can just tap that outside wall. Walsh is that perfect example of right there. And he's got Doucette too that might push him towards getting even closer to the wall and adding that pressure from behind.
Trying to keep the pressure in old tires. Somebody who's certainly, I think, a little bit tense, stressed out. 22 laps, and if you're in the center of the pack here, you can't catch a break. You're not out there logging laps like some of the front runners, constantly looking to try to advance your position, constantly looking to try to defend your position. We turn the focus back up front now inside of 10 laps to go. Matthews is still there. He's doing a very good job of not letting Lowe get away. But I don't think that's going to be enough, at least at this point, Justin. I don't think he's close enough that Lowe's really stressing right now. I don't think he's applying enough pressure to maybe force that one into a mistake. And that half a second back is almost enough of a buffer where if Lowe were to make a mistake, he could maybe recover before the 2's able to get on him. So if Matthews is saving anything, now is time to go. Only 6 more trips around the racetrack.
That entire way around from turn 4 all the way through to turn 2 exit. Matthews pushed up both times, almost made contact with the wall both times. Most likely because of exactly what you said. He's trying to save his tires a little bit for this ending. Now he's pushing a bit too much, and now he's starting to lose that bit of time that he was evening out with Lowe before then.
Yeah, starting to drop back, certainly, and again, Kenny Brady may have to keep an eye because Andy Trupiano's closing in a fight for 3rd and 4th. We'll keep a half eye on that, but I keep waiting for that shoe to drop up front, and I think Lowe just a little bit too smooth for the 2 to make up a difference. And we talk about Matthews, who was able to qualify into this main event courtesy of winning heat race number 2 earlier on this evening. Was able to finish 8th last week, so gathered a ton of points. So I certainly think that he'll be satisfied if this P2 does pan out. That'll give him a big boost in points, 2 straight top 10s, and obviously just making it into the main event for 2 straight weeks is a lot more than a majority of drivers can say. But Garrett Lowe has shown again, he made 16 starts in a regular season, won 15 of them. He won last week, and he's going to be 2 laps away as of this time.
Yeah, Lowe has been hitting the marks, his marks exactly the way he needs to, keeping it consistently in the 20 flats since about lap 5. So it's just been that extra bit of consistency that's been able to help Lowe throughout this entire run for the main tonight.
And it is going to be the white flag in here that time by Garrett Lowe's. Just got 1/2 of a mile to go around the Irwindale Speedway, and he's going to have his second consecutive win. Matthews 3 car lengths off, the closest it's been in a while, but it is not going to be close enough. The one dives low, protects the inside, and Garrett Lowe's going to go back-to-back, another playoff win in the eNASCAR Ignite Series.
A great run again for Lowe, hitting near exact lap times throughout the entire final 10 laps to be exact. And again, going 2 for 2 for the postseason to beat Matthews this time.
Beats him out for that one, so Matthews again improves on his finishing position from a week ago. Again, anybody in the top 17 tonight who made it to this feature in a great spot. Kenny Brady was also able to defend, but they're all watching the one machine burn it down. Lowe is your winner. And I know we're only 2 weeks into the playoffs. It is halfway, to be fair, in this opening round, but when you look at the stats on this entire summer campaign as a whole, I think it's a fair question to ask, will anybody be able to compete with Garrett Lowe when it comes down to funding for that $10,000 scholarship? Let's look top to bottom at your Race Spot TV full race results. Lowe gets the win. Ryan Matthews comes home second, and Kenny Brady in third. We hope to talk trackside with those top finishers in just a moment. As noted, Andy Trippiano wasn't able to catch the 6 in time. It'll be a P4 for him, and the only driver who, aside from your top 2, finishes where they started, it'll be Riley Thompson cruising home in P5. Ryvan Papazian comes home 6th. Jake Matheson in 7th with Zach Novak in 8th. Aaron Mulrooney Jr. 9th, and Nick Doucette in 10th.
Dave Walsh got bounced around a little bit. Remember, he got loose off of turn 4 before. That lost him a couple spots. Comes away in 11th, followed by Austin Edwards. D. Parker had a lot of speed, as we talked about before, but having to start right at the back of the field. The best he can get was 13th. Dylan Hodge is in 14th, with Raja Carruth, Dylan Alt, and Demetrius Whitney rounding out the 17 drivers for this evening's main here at Irwindale.
We step aside to one final time. The post-race show going to be next. The Garrett Lowe awaits us in Victory Lane. Your winner for the Irwindale Speedway. Plenty more to come. You're watching the eNASCAR Ignite Series on the iRacing Esports Network.
My name is Stephen Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
And that's how restrictor plates reduce air intake. Moving on, drag is one of your biggest competitors. It slows you down, so make sure your car is streamlined. And don't forget to get an edge with drafting. Take advantage of the high pressure air between your car and the one in front. Then you can slingshot it.
You guys taking notes?
At the track, in the classroom, and online. Get special ticket offers for kids at NASCAR.com/KidsTix today.
Back live from the virtual Irwindale Speedway, 2 weeks down now on the eNASCAR Ignite Series playoffs as the series turns to Texas in 2 weeks' time. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but first I want to welcome you back in to the Race Spot TV booth. Evan Pasoko, Justin Prince with you on the iRacing Esports Network. Our director downstairs, Randy Chenneth, bringing us to you. And we'll go trackside in just a moment. Justin, our top finisher is standing by, but certainly another exciting week out. And now all of a sudden, we're already halfway through this opening round.
Yeah, a heck of a first 2 rounds here with a lot of action throughout both the heats and the main races. The pressure's on, though, for the rest of the field from here on out.
Garrett Lowe is your race winner tonight. He was also the race winner last time out. The One Machine's got an act to do in this, and we go trackside and chat with him now. Garrett, congratulations on the win. Had an opportunity to chat with you just a week ago, and clearly the transition from New Smyrna to Irwindale didn't really mess with you at all. Another fantastic performance. I don't think that car was not scored in first place at any moment this evening. You go through easily through the heats, and Ryan certainly gave you a run for your money there late, but at the end of the day, it's another win. Just tell us about your night.
Ryan definitely kept up with me there the last, good portion of the race. I think he stayed with me for most part of the race. In the last couple laps, he was able to kind of run me back down. I think he was, just trying to get to me, make something happen, and he was catching me. But I think he just kind of ran out of time, and I had kind of logged my laps. And once you get inside of 5 to go, there's a certain point where you just have to make sure that you win the race, and you're not going out there and do anything stupid.
Certainly thought that it was going to be a low-line preferred race as we ran the outer loop here at the Irwindale Speedway, and it really early on in those we saw it in the heat races because drivers knew that if they wanted to get into a transfer spot they had to get going, and they would go all the way down on the inside of the flat, but wouldn't run down there all the time. That seemed to be certainly a lane that you would go for when you're battling, but when things spread out just a tad bit, looked a little bit more calm. How'd you guys figure out the quickest way around?
I just kind of trial and error sometimes, and around other cars, either in practice or in the warm-up session, you can kind of tell what works and what doesn't work. And it's not always reliable being behind another car like that, but a lot of the time you can tell whether you're going to be able to get a run off the corner by running a half a lane higher, and whether that's going to be beneficial for you to make a pass in the race.
A lot of success all season long, and I know not going to be a perfect method. I know the math isn't technically there, but any given week when you've only got 17 people making it to the main event and the bulk of the points are only available to them, it certainly looks like you guys are well on your way to being able to make it to that final race at Martinsville. For all of the success, and I think the sustained success most importantly that you have had all year, do you get concerned at all, though, that this thing might, or it really is going to come down, though, to just one race, and it could be, the one-off night that you have all year that could be the determining factor? How do you kind of weigh that, knowing that you've been oh so good good, but you're going to be in the exact same position as everybody else by the time we get there.
Yeah, I think that's one thing, that we're all in the same playing field, and I definitely think that everybody who's been running well all season and in the playoffs as well, these first 2 races, that's definitely something they've considered. And I think for maybe some people who aren't running at the front these races, but they're still getting good points and they're still going to be able to make the finale, I think that they're looking at it as a positive because they have a reset. Unfortunately for guys like me and Ryan and Andy and Kenny, who are all running up at the front every week, we are basically going to be put back to 0 and back to square one, and not really something I prefer. I don't really think that that's always going to give you the best champion, but it's the format we have, and got to play it where it lies.
You guys have been very good adapting thus far to the format. You get a week off. Next race out, Texas. It is a road course bout, though. Is that same speed going to be there in the one machine when we return?
I think so. I typically do fairly well with the road courses. I know there are others who are better, and some, I believe we do have a road drivers world championship driver in here in the endurance series. So I think maybe there's people who have an advantage in different places, and I think we'll see that either at Texas, like you said, in the road course, or later in the season.
Well, hopefully, as we get later on into the season, for you guys, you keep up the speed. It's been very good through now 10 completed weeks on the season. It is another win on the big stage in the playoffs for you, Garrett. Sponsors and all of that good stuff. Anybody you want to say hi to while we got you down here in Victory Lane?
I'd just like to thank everybody at 5-Star Racing, Fusion Racing. Teammate Nicholas Doucette from 5-Star came home 10th tonight, so he finally made a feature this week and was able to come home with a solid finish and hopefully lock himself in for the finale as well next week.
We always appreciate your time. Again, congratulations on the win. 2 races to go until we really get serious, so we'll catch you at Texas. Garrett, best of luck. Hopefully we'll chat soon.
Yep, thank you, guys.
Race winner from the Irwindale Speedway. Race winner from last week as well. Lowe is 2 for 2 so far in the eNASCAR Ignite Series playoffs. And he'll even admit it. Ryan Matthews gave him a run for his money there. It's going to be a P2 for the driver of the number 2. Trackside with him is Justin.
Thank you very much, Evan. Ryan Matthews joins us in the broadcast booth after having a strong run, running second since basically the drop of the green flag. Ryan, how are you feeling after that race?
Yeah, it kind of sucks that I didn't get the win there. I felt like I definitely had a faster car than Garrett, but every time I got to his bumper, I just slipped in turns 3 and 4 and lost 3/10 every time I did that. I think I did that like 3 or 4 times, but we closed in a little bit at the end, I think. I don't know, it was close. Me and Garrett are really close in times.
I was going to say, I was looking at the times here. You picked up the pace compared to him in the final 5 laps. How hard was it to try and make sure you matched him lap for lap to try and keep up with him, to try and hope that you can set up something up to try and maybe get a pass together?
It's definitely difficult. Garrett's really consistent. I think he got a little loose a couple times, but I just got to work on my consistency. But and I think I'll be right there with him. But it's definitely one thing to catch him and another thing to pass him. Passing is really hard here. You can outrun them on the top in turns 1 and 2, and then you can pass them on the bottom of turns 3 and 4. So it definitely would have been difficult to set them up for a pass, but I think I could have had it done if I had been more consistent, but we'll just move on to next week.
And getting to those racing lines as well, what was it like trying to prepare for this week to try and make sure you hit those lines and marks the way you need to be able to pick up the pace? Is to be able to get the speed you did. How difficult was it to try and be sure you're ready to go for this race weekend here at Irwindale?
It was definitely difficult. We had a lot of fast guys in practice, and I would just keep on trying lap after lap to beat their times, and I wouldn't quit trying until I beat their laps. And doing a lot of long runs too, that helped me out a lot. Trying to be as consistent as possible, just hitting the same line lap after lap. And yeah, it's pretty difficult. Just a lot of practice, a lot of laps.
Now getting to next race, the next one is at the Texas Infield Road Course. What kind of challenges do you expect to see when we go road course racing with these Legends cars?
I don't know. It's going to be a little difficult for me. I'm not too good at road courses. I'm decent. I tested there a little about a week ago. And it's pretty fun. the road courses are definitely fun in legend cars, and I think we will have a chance to win. They're just gonna need a lot of practice.
A lot of practice for sure. Remember, the next date for that is on September the 12th. Anyone you want to thank, sponsors, friends, anything in those regards before we let you get going for tonight?
Yes, sir. I got to thank Justin LeDuc for spotting for me tonight. He really helped me out a lot. My dad and all my sponsors, especially for real life, S&M Auto Service, Denise Matthews Real Estate, Mechanicsville Paint and Body Shop, H&J Lawn Care, and I think that's Pimbleton Forest Products. I think that's about it.
Thank you very much for the time, Ryan. Congratulations on the second place finish tonight.
Thank you, man.
And that was Ryan Matthews with a great run here tonight here, Evan.
And I believe also just taking a look by, Kenny Brady is able to lock up a third place finish tonight. I think, Justin, you've got the driver of the number 6 machine as well.
Yes, I in fact do here. Kenny Brady joining us in the broadcast booth, coming away with a top 3 finish. Somewhat quiet battle, but still a hard battle towards the finish to be able to beat Tripiano for that third spot. Kenny, how are you feeling after this one? Kenny Brady, do you have a copy? And it looks like there might be a technical issue. Apologies to that there, but Brady had a heck of a run, I think, tonight, and especially with that battle at the finish I was trying to refer to there, because it was under just a 1/10 of a second into the 100th of a second for third spot between him and Tripiano tonight.
And we'll see if we could give him a quick second to get that worked out. If not, as always, we appreciate the drivers giving us some time post-race. Those are tons of points that Kenny Brady is able to pick up. I believe we had 6 additional drivers make the main event this evening that did not previously make it last week. So of the 30 drivers who are in those transfer positions to get to the main event, the winner-take-all, round number 2 from the Martinsville Speedway, of those 30, 23 of them have had a shot at the plethora of points, if you will, that are available here in the main event. Certainly a ton more points available. I think we've got a copy on the 6, so we'll give it another go.
Kenny Brady, do you have a copy?
I got y'all. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much. And coming away tonight third, it was a heck of a battle, though. It looked right towards the finish just to beat Anthony Tripiano to finish in the top 3. How were you feeling, and how difficult was it down the stretch here tonight?
Well, off the jump there, you know, we got a good start, and I was just trying to keep the car as smooth as possible, not trying to go in the grass or get loose or slip up or anything. With these big ovals in this playoff series, any mistake can cost you a spot or two. So holding off a guy as fast as Tripiano was pretty cool.
And getting to the difficulties that are there, what sort of difficulties did you feel you had throughout the night to make sure you kept the pace up that you need to and get the speed together to hold on to a top 3 finish tonight?
Yeah, it's, you know, with these, like I said, with these large ovals, there's not any room for error. You know, you're carrying so much speed into the corner and off that if, you know, you miss your line, go high, or like hit the grass, you could get loose, and that kicks off a 10th or 2, and you're just in the top 3, 4, 5 guys. There's just no room for error. You got to hit your marks every single lap to hold off these guys, and I was able to do that tonight, and it's pretty cool.
It absolutely is cool, and it gets you a lot of points as well to get you in at least to the top 5 range. We're going road course racing next time for round number 3 at the Texas Infield. How are you feeling about that, and what kind of preparations do you plan to do for that?
Oh yeah, a lot of practice for sure goes into the road course races, especially at Brands Hatch. I practiced a lot for that one, and I'll practice a lot for this one. It's pretty exciting, to be honest with you, because you know you have these 3 ovals, and then it definitely tests the skills of the drivers to go on a road course and see what they can do there. It definitely shows the skill. So it's going to be interesting as we go there in 2 weeks. And I'm excited for it. I love road course racing, and we'll see what we can do there with, you know, going in there, made the race 2 weeks in a row now, got a lot of points, in a comfortable position to go in there and capitalize on a good finish.
And we'll see you if you are able to capitalize once again things get back going at the Texas infield. Anyone you want to thank before we let you go here tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Vicente Salas. He spotted me this week and last week, but he really coaches me through the races and keeps me calm, and he's always been my spotter any race I do on iRacing. So big thank you to him. Thanks to my mom and dad and family for supporting me. Chris Lilly Designs for making the scheme for me that I could run here tonight. Over the weekend we got it together. Thank Brady's Kitchen and Bath. Those are one of my sponsors. And yeah, thanks to all my friends and family for all the support through the series.
Thank you very much for the time, Kenny. Congratulations on the top 3 tonight.
Yep, thank you guys. Have a good night.
You too, and that was Kenny Brady coming away third tonight after starting off in 4th, Evan.
There you have it. Big thanks as all top 3 of our finishers were able to spare some time post-race to chat with us. Garrett Lowe, Ryan Matthews, and Kenny Brady come home first, second, and third tonight. And again, impressive when you consider the fact that in this eNASCAR Ignite Series, all these drivers aged just 13 through 16. Very impressive, not only their ability on track, but of course to be able to break it down to post-race. Very appreciative of their insight. And to wrap up what was an exciting week number 2 of the season, Justin, certainly another good showing. Garrett Lowe's going to be able to clearly defend that championship lead. He's now 15 points ahead of Andy Trippiato for the overall championship lead. But and you heard kind of the reservations with Lowe when I was chatting with him that that doesn't really mean all that much. Again, the objective is to get into the top 30, and then it completely resets. And the drivers outside of the top 23 in points still have not made a main. So the highest scoring driver of that group, 24th place, Howie Briss, only has 13 points. So those drivers really need to kick it into gear if they want to be able to make that cut, and it is going to be a very exciting race. I think that could provide some surprises as we go road course racing in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, that's going to be the test for a lot of these drivers. Can you go left and right, be able to handle very hard break-in zones, and be able to handle in the road course side? It's going to test a lot of different drivers, and as one of our pastor, Ryan Matthews, said himself, you know, there's going to be some drivers that are going to have their best point shots, I think, heading towards these final few rounds at the Texas infield.
And we certainly hope to hope that you join us there. But with all of that being said, 2 races now complete on round 1 of the playoffs. As we step aside, of course, want to say thanks to everybody who makes all of this possible, the entire team over at RaceSpot, of course, everybody at iRacing and NASCAR. For the team tonight, for myself, Evan Pasoko, Justin Prince, and our director, Randy Cheneth, thanks for tuning in, and congratulations to Garrett Lowe, your race winner. We'll be back Wednesday, September the 12th from the Texas Motor Speedway. That race and every race as we search for the first ever eNASCAR Ignite Series champion can be found right here on RaceSpot TV, NASCAR.com, and the iRacing Esports Network. Until then, good night from Irwindale. We'll catch you next time in the Lone Star State.